So my name is Jason Kruise. I'm the global segment lead for personal protection for Integris Composites. We are a global integrated armor manufacturer covering ground vehicles, aerospace, naval, and obviously personal protection products. We sell all over the globe. We have manufacturing sites in Ohio, in the United States, in Denmark, and in Primeret, France. We have sales locations and representation in Singapore, Poland, the UK, and the Netherlands. This has been my world for 20 years, and I don't think I ever really saw the attention drop off. Maybe in the public perception, maybe it dropped off slightly after the ending of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and some of it, however, with the increased tensions globally, with obviously Ukraine's been going on for quite some time, issues in the Middle East, and there's going to be some level of renewed interest in personal or protection of all assets within the Department of Ministries of Defense, Department of War in the U.S.'s case. With new technology, we're starting to see the ability to improve our protection levels at lighter weights, maybe not necessarily at lower costs, but as the composites advance technologically, some of the older composites that were suitable 5 years ago have now become the lower cost materials, which are allowing for more budget constrained elements to procure higher end materials and protection levels. So, more on the right now we're looking at it, more on the modeling side. We're not seeing a strong influence with the additive manufacturing yet. We know there are some of our ceramic component manufacturers are really pushing hard for additive manufacturing in ceramics to add complexity, to some of the, as an example, female-shaped body armor plates are really being, pushing that market. But right now it's more on the modeling side and creating advanced 3D models of potential solutions rather than ultimate end solutions that have ballistic properties. But the technology is always increasing, and we're heading in that direction, which is definitely a positive for when you look at some of the complex shapes and dimensionals of some of these aircraft and ground vehicles specifically. Outside of just the typical flat panels that we can make today, right? That's an interesting question, because they're actually not all that dissimilar. And when you think about naval applications, you have to think about, when you're designing for a surface vessel, you have to think about weight and how it's going to affect buoyancy, but not just buoyancy, but also how it's going to affect the center of gravity. So naval armaments really have to be in that weight conscious world, which is where we sit with personal protection, right? We're always looking to go lighter on the protection. It allows for increased armament loads and and really decreasing the impact on a soldier's body or a Marine's body or whoever's wearing it, the operator's body. Weight reduction is the primary customer need right now. Everybody's looking to get lighter, reducing operator load, reducing the wear and tear on the human body, and the long-term effects of carrying the heavier equipment. We're not seeing a dramatic shift in performance or protection levels. It's really, our number one driver coming from our customers right now is weight reduction. The biggest thing is anything that can help us reduce the weight and reduce the burden on operationally. In some cases, with the top attack, the top attack threat from drones is something where we really need to push to the future on. That doesn't necessarily affect personal protection as much as it does, ground vehicles and surface vessels. But it's always going to be lighter weight. It's always going to be, cheaper and lighter, right? I mean, that's where we're always going. I mean, it's a consideration. It is, it's always a consideration. When you're balancing, environmental issues. But at the end of the day, we're here to protect the lives of our operators, and we would to add additional risk in that vein, would be irresponsible. At the same time, you're stuck in that do loop of it's irresponsible to not be sustainable, but at the same time, risking the lives of those that we're fighting to protect, it would also be irresponsible of us. So we're always looking for better ways to manufacture. We're looking at our supplier base to understand how they're manufacturing and what they're doing to improve sustainability, and while at the same time not reducing or compromising the performance of the product. I don't see a ton of step changes. I think we'll see some gradual changes as fiber technologies for composites increases. The additive manufacturing, we'll start to see more complex shapes being able to be manufactured out of ceramic, which will allow us to lighten the load on some of these more complex shaped vehicles. But step changes in performance, I don't see that happening anytime soon. I think it's going to be mostly, incremental changes over the next 10 years.